Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Apologies for the slightly delayed start. This is a live session, and we did have a slight technical glitch this morning, but we have managed to overcome. I hope you're all well, and thank you for joining us on this kind of midsummer day. I imagine a lot of you are embracing kind of school summer holidays and all sorts. So it's wonderful that you can join us for today's live session. This is a successful crowdfunding with Sport England webinar. So we are going to be talking about all things crowdfunding, the grant funding opportunities available through our partnership with Sport England, and we'll also talk to a project owner. The wonderful Lucy has joined us, who currently has a live project up and running on the crowdfunder site. So by all means, have a look at hers as well. We will signpost you over to take a look at her brilliant project, and we'll be finding out all about her experience and what she's found kind of a success, any hints, tips to help you all get started. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we dive into the content. We have allowed 60 minutes for this session. That does include a Q&A at the end as well. So do please feel free to use the chat box or the Q&A box to pop any questions that you have for myself about crowdfunding, or we also have obviously Lucy about her project experience. And we have been joined by David as well from Sport England, who's going to be talking through the fund. So if you have any fund specific questions, please do use that chat box. I've popped a few messages in there already. Hopefully you can see those, and it'd be wonderful if you can please make sure that you are introducing yourselves. Let us know how you are all getting on. If you have any questions, as I mentioned, I have actually just noticed the chat box had a bit of a glitch. So I've just reactivated that one for you, and you should be able to access that now. Okay. This is live, as you can probably tell. We do, however, record the whole session. So we will make sure we send out the replay to you along with any relevant links that you might need in order to apply for the extra funding or the match funding and for your crowdfunding journeys as well. If you have any issues with your internet connection, the easiest thing for you to do is to exit the webinar and then follow the registration or the sign up link, which should bring you straight back into the live room. If you have any issues with that, please just do respond to the email sent from Zoom. We'll be able to pick that up. And as I mentioned, we will be sending this through as a replay. Now, if you can't see the full slide, hopefully you can, and I'm talking just kind of off the slide there. If that isn't appearing in that way, you can go up to the view icon, which is at the right hand of your screen, and select side by side speaker view, and that should rearrange the format of your screen and you'll be able to see the full slide. Okay, so for some of you, crowdfunding is going to be a really new concept. Some of you may have done this before. So what would be great is actually to get an idea of where you are at with your journeys. Let's see if we can, one, find out why you're here today, what brings you to us today, and then I want to know a little bit more about your crowdfunding experience, and then I can explain to you what crowdfunding is all about. Some of you might have no idea at all. Some of you might have done a little bit of crowdfunding or some kind of digital fundraising of some form. So if you could please answer the poll for me, which should have popped up on your screen. It'll give us a good indication of what you're looking to gain from today's session, and we can kind of tailor our content in order to match your needs. Amazing. Thank you so much. So quite a lot of you here are actually looking to find out not only about crowdfunding, but obviously the match funding opportunity that we have available as well. So we will make sure that we give as much information about that and how to apply as possible. And then again, if you wouldn't mind letting us know about any previous crowdfunding experience. So is this completely new to you? Have you maybe donated to a crowdfunder before? Do you have a draft project on crowdfunder, or even a live project that's currently raising money? Maybe you've run a successful crowdfunding campaign before and you're coming back for another go at it. Okay, a few of you still left to answer. However, at the moment, it's looking like it's a completely new concept for the majority of people that are in the room. So we'll make sure we kind of go right back to basics with it. That's absolutely fine. Brilliant. I will end that one there. Okay, a couple of you have run crowdfunding campaigns before. That's really exciting to know that you've got a bit of experience. For those of you that don't, and for those of you that this is completely new for, The concept of crowdfunding is going out to your crowd or the community of people around you and raising money in order to make your idea or your project, as we refer to it, happen. Now, Crowdfunder UK has been around for 11 going on 12 years now, and it was set up in order to tackle society's challenges, so making ideas happen. Now, Crowdfunder UK is primarily a rewards-based crowdfunding platform, and that's where we stand out from maybe some of the other platforms that you might already be familiar with. Because crowdfunding is, as I say, it's a concept. We obviously are Crowdfunder UK, but there are other digital platforms out there that do a similar thing to us. Rewards, essentially, which is one of our kind of standout offers, is offering a benefit of some kind in return for a financial contribution. Now, we'll look at that in more depth a little bit later on. What it does mean is that you have the opportunity to list items or products or services onto your crowdfunding page that people can pledge on. There will be a value attributed to those, and it's a really lovely way to give something back to people that have supported you and also to incentivize their giving a little bit. It might actually boost the amount that they were looking to donate to you by offering them something at a slightly higher price point than what they were maybe initially thinking about donating. Again, in terms of those of you that are new to the concept of crowdfunding, there are lots of additional benefits that you might not necessarily be aware of. Of course, you need to raise the money in order to get your idea off the ground and make your project happen. However, there are lots of things that come along with doing that by running a crowdfunding campaign. First of all, you're going to develop some validation in your idea and really build confidence in what you're doing. You're going to see if there's an appetite for the project that you're hoping to deliver. We're really asking you to go out to the community around you and get their feedback. Get their feedback in terms of comments of support, in terms of them actually donating to your crowdfunding page. And that can be a really rewarding thing to do and a really low risk way of seeing if there is an audience or an appetite for what you're looking to raise money for. You'll also be able to create a buzz around your idea. So you'll develop awareness and develop an audience. And that might be, in this instance, people who are going to then go on and participate in your sporting activity, your physical activity. It could be that you're looking to engage with local sponsors, business partners, the local authority. There are lots of different ways that you can build awareness through running a crowdfunding campaign. We will give you the tools necessary to network effectively and to really build that kind of message and awareness surrounding what you're doing. And it can help you to get noticed by a wider audience. And that's really important. Quite often we find that we can live in quite a kind of insular way where we are passionate about what we're doing and we know that those around us in our immediate circle support us. It's a really lovely thing, but sometimes scary thing to do, to go and reach out to a wider audience and get their kind of feedback and support. And we encourage you to do that, and we give you the tools to do it effectively. And actually, the results of that can be really wonderful. Everybody that does support your campaign will automatically become an advocate. They will start talking about your project and your organization to their networks, their friends, their families. And before you know it, you have organically grown your network. We at Crowdfunder champion projects that we support, things that resonate with us. We obviously see lots of projects coming through the platform daily, and there will be things that resonate with us as individuals or as an organization that we will champion. It will help to build an engaged audience, and that's really important because that builds legacy and that builds longevity of impact as well. So those people that are coming on board for this journey with you will take that kind of meaningful connection and carry you forward into your future growth as well, future development of your organization. You'll also learn new skills. For some of you, the concept of digital fundraising might be quite new. We want to make sure that we've got enough resources and ways that we can help you to do that like a pro. We will get you crowdfunding and doing it successfully. And there are lots of transferable skills as well as part of this journey. So you can transfer those into different walks of life. You can bring them into your organization and help you develop things for the future as well. And of course, one of the main reasons that people are here today is to find out more about what we call extra funding, which is essentially match funding or grant funding opportunities that we have with our partner organisations, of which Sport England is one of them. And we'll focus today's session on the Movement Fund, which is the exciting funding opportunity from Sport England that we have at the moment. I want to also highlight we do work with a variety of different funding partners, both nationally and regionally, and it's a really great opportunity to look at who you could receive kind of a match fund from or a grant fund from as part of your crowdfunding campaign. And you can always apply for more than one fund, and you may even be fortunate enough to receive pledges from more than one of our partners. So it's a really great way to boost your fundraising potential and to create a real exciting journey and excitement about what you're going to deliver as well. Okay, so when we talk about crowdfunding sports or we talk about sports clubs, really it's broader than that. What we see a lot coming through that would fit into the crowdfunder sports category is anything to do with getting communities active. So that could be everything from mum and baby yoga through to toddler sessions. It could be we've had all sorts of sports I've never even heard of. Years ago, we had korfball come through as a sport. I wasn't aware of that, but it could be a walking group. It could be, you know, working in a care home and doing sit down exercises with the residents. We're talking about getting communities active and bringing physical activity to promote, obviously, physical health and mental health and well-being as well. Here's just a snapshot of some of the current crowdfunder sports in inverted commas projects that have been supported by the Movement Fund. And you can see already there's a really nice kind of breadth of variety of the different types of projects that are coming through and the different types of things that people are raising money for. Ultimately, making physical activity more accessible to members of their community. Now, there are a few reasons why we know that organisations and traditional sports clubs that are working within this sector do really well at crowdfunding. And that's because, one, they already 99% of the time have an engaged audience. And whether that's because you are a traditional sports club and you have a membership and you have people that are turning up week on, week out to train with you, you also might have volunteers and committee members, or whether you are an organisation who are delivering some kind of physical activity program to your community, you will no doubt have an audience of supporters or a crowd that you already engage with. So that's going to be your first hurdle when you're crowdfunding, is who are your crowd? You have that already, which is a really strong starting point. And then you will also no doubt have people who share the same vision as you, who are just as passionate about that physical activity, that you can bring on board as part of your crowdfunding team to collaboratively make this a success. And we always encourage you to do that wherever possible. This should be collaborative with yourselves and your committee members or fellow volunteers, and also members of your community. Don't be shy at bringing other people on board to help you with this process. The results will speak for themselves. And in terms of results and impact, I just want to quickly show you over the years that we've been kind of rolling out the crowdfunder sports program and working with sporting funding partners. So that would be Sport England, who we'll focus on today, Sport Wales, Sport Northern Ireland. We've also worked with British Cycling throughout the years. These are some of the numbers that we've been able to look back on. So in terms of sports specific projects or physical activity projects, we have seen more than 6,500 projects be added to the platform, and they have had over 420,000 supporters between them. So a huge amount of people getting behind these physical activity organisations and programmes in their communities. They have collectively raised more than £36 million between them. And a lot of these organisations are really grassroots organisations. They might be operating in some of the most deprived areas of the UK. These projects are still successful and are still raising money towards delivering their impactful projects. We've seen through our sports partners that we've been able to distribute more than £11 million to these clubs and to these organisations. So the opportunity is huge in terms of the capacity for raising money and also being part of this lovely kind of story that's starting to really take off the ground. You know, we've been doing this for years now, and it's only built and built and built. And it's a really wonderful thing to see people come back and do it time and time again, because it works and it helps to build that longevity of kind of fundraising strategies going forwards as well. Now, somebody who is in the throes of doing this at the moment is the wonderful Lucy from the Twynford Parish Council. Hi, Lucy. Are you able to join me on screen, please?
I am. Hi, thanks, Zoe.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's so lovely to have you here. And your project is actually currently live, isn't it? You've smashed your target, which is wonderful to see, but you've still got some time left live on your campaign. If anybody would like to head over and make some donations, I'm sure you would
Yeah, please
appreciate that.
do. I think we've got 4 hours to go. It finishes today, so it's a super exciting day for us.
So that needs to be the next steps for everyone that's attending today then, is finish this call, go and make a donation.
Yeah, maybe you'd send the link, Zoe.
I will, of course I will. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your project? What was the need for this particular project, and how you kind of fell upon crowdfunding as a means to raise some money towards getting this off the ground and getting your project happening?
Sure. So I'm clerk to Twyford Parish Council, and we started the idea of raising for or developing a skate park to replace our existing skate park, which is really tired. You can see on the screen. And so the Parish Council went to tender and have the funds for the actual skate park, but we'd had some consultation evenings, and the young skaters were really keen to do some extra fundraising. So we looked at crowdfunder and thought that it would be a really great way to get the young people involved and active and participating, and encourage kind of ownership of the project rather than it just being provided by the parish council.
That's a really amazing thing that they kind of brought that to the table. And I think actually that will, I'm sure, mean that there's a lot more feeling of ownership once that's actually been built then as well. They're going to feel really part of this journey, like they have, you know, a really strong hand in making this happen, which I think is really important in communities.
Yeah, I mean, over the term of the crowdfund, as I say, we're coming to the end. It's really been exciting to see how everything has grown. Our ideas have developed, and we've come up with new ideas. But the kids have really been, well, and the adult skateboarders have really been engaged. So please do have a look at the crowdfunder, but also at our social media, because they've done some really lovely videos, which I think we'll talk about later.
I love the video that's on your page. And I think that's such a strong way to get the message across. And was that the group of the young skaters that had kind of approached in the beginning to say, let's do this? Because they seem really passionate about the project.
Yeah, so we said, right, we'll set up this Friends of Twyford skate park group, and we started with a WhatsApp group, which was basically a keen photographer that's a skateboarder. We had an ex-pro skateboarder, that's a dad to skateboarders, and then some of the younger skateboarders as well. So we had a WhatsApp, which was great at kind of passing on ideas and keeping enthusiasm. And they were the key team members that myself and my colleague would deal with, and they sparked off the ideas. But it was great that we had the photographer, because he did the initial video, which is absolutely fantastic. And I think that's really kind of made our campaign, because it was great to have the youths involved and engaged. And I think the skate park has maybe had a bit of a bad reputation in the past, and so to see these kids that were actually really articulate and really engaged and trying their hardest to raise money, it really has been a positive project for us.
That's so lovely. And I encourage everybody to take a look. I'll make sure that when we send the replay that I also include a link to your wonderful project as well. and make
That
sure
would be
everybody
great.
within the next 4 hours so that they can donate.
Please do.
One thing that I really loved as well, it was your creative use of rewards. And we've talked about the ability to pop, rewards onto the page. How did you go about sourcing them? One of the ones I really love is the buy us a pint or buy us a keg. So buy us a pint of concrete, I should I should point out. I thought that was a
Yeah.
really creative way to signpost people to give a certain amount.
So we worked out that we needed 131,000 pints of concrete to actually build our skate park. In fact, the skate park, as I say, will be funded by the parish council. So we were funding for the extras. But the kids just loved the whole idea of the pint of concrete. And the very first kind of launch event, once we'd launched our crowdfunder, was Twyford Beer Festival. So it just kind of fitted that people could buy a beer but also buy a pint of concrete, and then we had like buy a keg of concrete, or so we had different levels of the reward. But we also did the post of thanks, which went down quite well for businesses wanting to promote themselves. And we contacted all the local businesses, so we had like a beautician and restaurants that were offering meals, a theatre. So we had lots of a nice range of rewards that would appeal to different people. So, and they've been really popular. I think we've got a handful left, but mostly they've gone. And Maverick, who are building the skate park, sent us a whole box of t-shirts and sweatshirts and things that we could add. So yeah, it's the rewards has worked really well.
That's so lovely to see. And what a great thing as well. You've really been thinking about what else is going on in your local community and how you can almost utilize kind of external events like the beer festival to engage people in the crowdfunding exercise or the general kind of fundraising that you've been doing for the skate park. And I think that's really key for people on this call as well, is yes, you are crowdfunding for a specific purpose, but you are part of a community, and actually getting out there and knowing what's happening in the social calendar as a community, and how can you maybe piggyback your fundraising efforts onto those existing networks that are already out there doing things. So being part of that beer festival, I think, was a genius idea, especially with that buy a pint message. I think that was really such a creative thing to do. You were supported, or you are being supported by the Movement Fund at the moment. How did you find that process of application and the communication? Because I know at the beginning there was a bit of a back and forth in terms of potentially targets and things like that. So how did you find that process? And is there anything that you would kind of give advice on, or maybe compare to things like traditional grant applications, if you've ever had to write those types of applications versus running a crowdfunding campaign? That was a very long-winded question. Apologies, Lucy.
Yeah, I think at first there was a little bit of a hiccup because I'd done the webinar, and so we kind of had it drummed in that it's really good to set up the crowdfunder in advance and then find out if you're going to get any funding. And I thought by just setting up the crowdfunder, I was kind of making my application. But then when we went live, I realized there was an application form, which was super easy to complete. But it just meant we were a little bit late with everything. But it actually worked out really well for us because we extended our target end date. I spoke with you, Zoe, and David kind of guided me through, and we achieved the 5,000, which really gave our project such a boost because everyone knew that the money they'd put in, we'd kind of doubled it. So it was really positive for us.
That's really good to hear. And I'm really glad, because when you came through as an application, we could all see the value in what you were doing. So it's really brilliant to see that you've not only been approved for that funding, you've now secured that funding because you've hit your target, and you are still carrying on raising more, which is wonderful. In terms of your general kind of journey and your experience, has there been anything which has been an absolute kind of win, or a surprising kind of, oh, we didn't think that might happen but it did? Or has there been any hurdles which you might be able to advise people that they might stumble into? What's your good and your bad take on your experience?
Okay, so I think it's been hugely positive for us. Um, it's kind of developed in lots of ways that we didn't see coming. So we've ended up producing our own merchandise. So we had a logo designed, and that was a young girl that was doing work experience with a local designer. She was in a local school. So we then got a connection with the school and they did fundraising. So the logo, we've got our own t-shirts, skate park t-shirts, and tote bags that we're getting a percentage of the funding. So all that has been a real positive, and the fact that now we're thinking actually we'd really like to run workshops in the schools, so skateboard workshops, so that the whole village is embracing this new skate park. And we're looking at running first aid courses so that the kids can hopefully kind of deal with any minor injuries at the skate park. So it's all kind of developed. So the most important thing for us though has been the community involvement. We, as a parish council, sometimes you get a little bit of criticism with things, but nobody, not a single person has even hinted that they might worry that we're spending, quite a huge amount on a new skate park. It's all been absolutely positive, and it's not just the young people, it's the people who are going to bring their grandchildren. We've had such positive comments. So the whole campaign has been incredibly positive, incredibly exciting, and with an amazing result. So any bad things? I don't think I can. There really aren't any negatives. We kind of worried about what time we might launch it, and for us it's been the perfect time, in that we've had 2 consultations with Maverick, who are building our skate park, and so that the people, the audience that we've connected with, have been invited and been involved with that. And also we've had all the summer events. It wasn't just the beer festival. It was because we're parish council, we have kind of easier access, I guess, because we've got parks. So we know all the events going on over the summer. So it's actually been incredibly rewarding and fun. And I know when I started this, I said, I came on this webinar and I was like, Zoe, it's just so daunting. And you were like, no, we don't want it to be daunting. It's fun. And actually, it really has been great fun. And I think that this project doesn't finish today. It will stay open throughout the build of the skate park. And we're looking to see whether we can get a live cam so that people can watch the build of the skate park. So I'm thinking interest will grow, even more. It's just the start.
I love that. You've embraced it so much. I like, because I remember that conversation with you, and you did, it was a big ask, wasn't it? You were thinking, and like you say, being part of the parish council, what's going to be the perception of us raising money when we should be kind of fully funding this? And essentially you are, this is kind of the add-ons and the additions, and the reasons for doing it is all of the things that you've said on this call. It's been the awareness and the bringing the community together and developing that really lovely collaborative approach to what you're doing. So you're not just providing the community with something, you're doing it together. And I think that's really important. And that's something that we champion here at Crowdfunder. That's what it's all about, is communities doing things for their community together. Lucy, would you be happy to kind of wait in the wings of this session, because we've got a Q&A coming up, and it would be so lovely to allow the attendees to just pop some questions into that chat box for you, because I'm sure there's going to be some questions about your specific crowdfunding journey.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Thank you so much. And it's a really wonderful project. It's a really great, inspiring story as well. And it's something which is really achievable, I would say. So take a look at the project, click through to the social media as well. I'll send that round with you for you. Sorry. One thing that I'd like to dive into now is we've mentioned the Movement Fund, and it'd be so good to speak to David from Sport England. You've got me saying it now. From Sport England, to talk through the wonderful funding opportunity that is available from Sport England. Hi, David. Thanks for joining
Hi.
us.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Very much based in a very dull, drab, wet England today. Wales.
I know, I don't know why that keeps popping into my mind. I'm looking at blue sky finally. It's been raining most of the day, but we'll plow through our English summer. I'm going to turn my camera and mic off and let you talk through the movement fund.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Happy to stay on and take all questions at the end. I will give a quick whistle stop tour of the movement fund. And before I do, it is lovely to hear of the experience of an applicant that's gone through the process, and I must say, genuinely, it is wonderful to see how much you've embraced it. And many congratulations to you for achieving your target, and your project sounds fabulous. So well done. So moving on to the movement fund. So this is a new-ish fund now to Sport England. We launched in April this year. It replaced our old small grants, if there's any people on the call who are familiar with that. So this is our new offer. It is a fund that you can be awarded up to £15,000 from, and it is very typical of our small style grants in that we are looking to fund projects that are enabling people to be active, and we have a key audiences that we are looking to achieve that with. As I said, it is up to £15,000, and we think and we hope that the application process is quite straightforward for applicants. And we've talked a little bit about the crowdfunding experience. And I will say also that there's been some great hints and tips throughout this. I'm hoping that we're all scribbling them down. It is wonderful to hear how people have gone about their journey. We dive into the movement fund. So as it says on the screen, up to £15,000 is available per project. Now that is from Sport England up to £15,000. So let's just be clear on that. If your project is above £15,000, you can still apply to us. We will fund an element of that up to £15,000. Okay. And if we pledge, which incorporates the crowdfunder, we will fund half. So you could apply for above 30, we will award 15, pledge 15, and we would expect you to raise the other half from the crowd. Okay, so that's kind of very loosely how it works. If your project is way above 30, so say it's 80,000 and you've got some match already in place, or you're looking to get other funds in place and it's a larger scale project, again, that's absolutely fine. We will take all of that into consideration. Sport England will contribute up to £15,000, and if we pledge an award, then we will expect you to match that through the crowd. I'm happy to come back to that if that's not quite clear towards the end when we do questions. Next slide, please. So how do you apply? We've talked a little bit about your campaign and where you are on your journey with crowdfunder. Now, essentially, there's two ways of finding out about the movement fund. You can either come to the Sport England website, do a search on there for movement fund, and then you'll see all the information in detail on the Sport England site. Or I'm assuming that most of us are quite familiar with crowdfunder because we're here. You can also search for movement fund through the crowdfunder site. And then if you do that through the crowdfunder site, you'll come across this page where it will ask you if you are crowdfunding yet, yes or no. If you're not crowdfunding yet and you choose the blue pill, it will take you to the Sport England website where you'll find out all the information there. If you are crowdfunding and you have an account and you're familiar with that, it will ask you to sign in. Now, essentially, to simplify this, whichever route you take, you go through a fairly similar process, and the decision-making process for you is exactly the same. Okay. Now, where it asks, are you already crowdfunding? Just to clarify something on there, If you have a campaign, but it's not yet live, you can still go through that route. If you've got a campaign and it's live, absolutely go through that route. If you don't have a campaign yet, you might want to consider going through the left option, start the application, and that will take you through the Sport England website. Now, the questions that are asked on either of those, red pill, blue pill, are fairly much the same. We ask for the same kind of information, and we ask for the same kind of things like your budget breakdown, what your project is for, what you're hoping to achieve, who's your target audience, and so on. It's just that on the crowdfunding site, there is an expectation that you either have a draft campaign or a campaign that is live. So basically, that is the two routes in. One or the other is not quicker. Should absolutely stress that point. At the moment, we are looking round about an 8-week turnaround for decision, but this is recorded, so I should give the official line that it's up to 12 weeks. But we are okay at the moment, looking about 8 weeks, and that's how long it will take us to come back to you. Now, as traditionally is the case, if we have any questions either about your project or your campaign, that may slow it down slightly, and we will come to you and ask those questions and take that into consideration for our decisions. Okay, shall we move on? Am I on the next slide as well? Or is that me done? I think that's me done. That feels quite light touch.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful, David, and I think it's really stressing those two different routes, isn't it? Really, I think is the key thing, is making sure people are aware that there is two different routes to application, and I think you made that was super clear. If there's any questions about that, please do pop it into the chat box. David's going to be with us for the Q&A, and again, I'll circulate the movement fund with everybody that's attended today, so they can look at eligibility criteria. That might stir up specific questions once you've had a look at that, and I know that Sport England are more than happy to be contacted, aren't you, about specific
Yeah, I was just going to
criteria.
jump in there and ask if I could jump in.
Yeah.
I'll come back in, should I say. When you search for the movement fund, if you've got any questions that are related to the grant, please do contact us immediately. And on the Sport England website, you can there's information there on how to contact us either via the phone or via email, and we will absolutely do our best to come back to you and answer those. On the Sport England website, there is an extensive set of guidance about projects, kind of who we would fund, who we won't fund, what we are looking to fund, who our key target audiences are, what you can and can't do within this project. And I've seen a couple of questions in the chat about what we may consider funding. The guidance on our website is super helpful, but if you're not clear off the back of that, please do contact us. And then equally, if you have a campaign that's either in draft or it's live and you're ready to go, and you're not sure about some elements of that, crowdfunder are super helpful and super quick in responding to those type of questions. So please do contact crowdfunder if you've got any questions there.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. And yes, David will be with us at the end of the session as well. So do keep putting those questions into the chat. We'll loop back round for the Q&A. David mentioned those two routes to application there. So if you do already have an account with Crowdfunder, so that's a free to set up account with us, you may already have a draft project or even a live project, as David mentioned. You would select the I'm already crowdfunding option, which would prompt you to sign into your account. Now, when you're creating your campaign page, you will be asked a kind of a series of questions. We want some basic information about who you are as an organization, or are you a CIC? Are you a charity? Are you a limited company? Lots of different kind of tick boxes, which help us to determine your organizational structure and also whereabouts you are in the country. We want to know what your project aims are. We would like to know what kind of category you fit in. And of course, you're going to tick that sports community category if you're delivering any physical activity as part of your crowdfunder. All of these different things that you are letting us know, all of these bits of information when you're kind of creating that first campaign page is going to let us know what you're all about. What are your project aims? Who are you going to be working with? Where you are in the country? That's going to help our computer system to match you with any of our funding partners that we think would be a good fit for you. You will then see the Sport England Movement Fund pop up into your project dashboard, we call it, which is where you can manage every aspect of your campaign. Under the extra funding tab in your dashboard, you will see all of the funds you've been matched with. And of course, we're going to see the movement fund in there. That's why we're here today. And you can simply press the find out more or apply now, and you'll be able to fill in the application form, as David mentioned. That will automatically be sent to Sport England to review. So as soon as you submit that, they will have access to not only your application form, but to be able to view your campaign page that you're creating as well. So they can feed back to you on both of those things and request any additional information if needs be. Now, let's say that you have been approved for some match funding through the movement fund, which is really exciting. David did mention there that it's towards your project target. So let's say that your target is £20,000 for your project. Sport England may well pledge £10,000 of that towards your project total or your campaign total. Remember, it's up to 50% of your target or £15,000 maximum pledge. So in this case, they've decided to pledge you £10,000 towards your £20,000 target. So what you're going to do now, you have that information, you've been approved, it's all very exciting, you're going to start crowdfunding. You need to go out there and you need to raise the additional £10,000 to hit your target. You're going to start crowdfunding, start spreading the word with your close network. So that's going to be friends, family, committee members, maybe club members, or those who are participating in your activity in the first instance. That's your core network. And then as you start to build that audience and those donations and pledges are coming in, you're going to start looking at a wider audience to start promoting your campaign to. Now, a milestone that you need to have in mind, and it's a really good idea to plan for how you're going to reach this early on, is you will need to raise 25% of your initial target, and that needs to be from a required amount of supporters. So a supporter is an individual who is donating to your campaign. When we talk about required supporter numbers or unique supporter numbers, we are looking at somebody who is an individual that has made that kind of first donation. If they then go on to make multiple donations to your campaign, that is wonderful. We celebrate that. However, only that first initial donation would be considered in terms of the requirement numbers to actually release the pledge from Sport England. So looking at our table here, you've got a £20,000 target. So your number of required supporters that you need to reach is 100. So when you have 100 supporters donating to your page and you have raised 25% of your target yourselves from your crowd, you will see that £10,000 pledge or whatever the amount Sport England has awarded you. When you've hit that first milestone, it will land on your crowdfunding page. It will go straight into your target amount raised. There'll be a lovely banner on your page to say that Sport England have supported you with X amount of pledge. And that provides motivation for you to go back out to your crowd and say, look at this, we're celebrating this, Sport England are behind us. We now need to raise the shortfall, which is X amount of money. In this case, we need to raise the remaining £5,000 to reach our target. Once you've hit that target, you have secured all of the money raised so far. So everything from your crowd, you've secured the pledge from Sport England. And as in Lucy's case, you might have some time left live on your campaign. You can carry on raising money. That's something we call a stretch target. And that might be, the stretch target might encompass all of those additional things that you would love for your project, but they're more the wish list items. They're not necessary for you to actually get the project off the ground and running, but you'd love to have these additional things to make your project really the best it can be. You might have a little bit of money to raise to do those things, and that could fall into an additional, or what we call stretch target, where you can set an additional fundraising goal for your supporters to work towards whilst your project is still live. I just want to highlight, I mentioned at the top of the session that we've actually got quite a few different match funds available and grant funding available from our different partners, both nationally and regionally. You can see some local authorities that we work with here. We've got larger organisations and corporations across the UK. So do take a look at not only our extra funding page on our crowdfunding website or Crowdfunder UK website, but also your dashboard when you have been matched with funds. Apply for everything and anything that fits well with your project aims and that you are eligible for or could be eligible for. Worst case, it's a decline. Best case, you can receive pledges from multiple funding partners. So do bear that in mind. It can be a great way to boost your fundraising. Now, we know what works really well when it comes to crowdfunding pages, so much so that we've actually put together a template for you to follow. So when you enter the crowdfunding website as a sports organisation, let's call it, you click the sport category. Anybody delivering physical activity would be classed as fitting into the sport category when it comes to the crowdfunding platform. That will mean that you have access to this very helpful template to set up your campaign page and for you to tell your story in an effective way. You can add a video like Lucy did for her project, which was really engaging and really helpful. It could be the first and maybe the only thing that people see on your page before they make the decision to donate. So utilize that ability to pop a video on, keep it nice and short, a minute to a minute and a half, maybe have some real characters in there, some, you know, strong personalities, people who can really talk passionately about what you're doing. So who you are, why you're crowdfunding, what you're raising the money for, and then how people can help you get there, which is sharing your campaign page with their networks, making a donation, maybe claiming a reward, or even offering a reward for you to put on your page. So there are lots of different ways that people can help you to have a successful campaign, and the video can be a great way to have that call to action. And then it's as simple as following the prompts in the template. We advise, if you can, to change these headers that are in bold. So rather than "who are we," you might want to change that to the name of your organization, or the story so far, or, you know, our history in the community, whatever you want to change it to. But please do try and change the generic headings to something a little bit more personal to your particular campaign. And then use that space underneath the headers to just fill that with some really relevant content. Try and avoid having huge reams of text without that being broken up by images. Images are really strong. Images and video can really help to engage with an audience. So try and have a paragraph or two and then a nice strong image to talk, you know, to really demonstrate what you've been talking about. You might want to pick out any key information in bold. All these kinds of small but effective tactics can help to draw the reader's eye all the way through your page without kind of becoming disengaged. So have a look at some other pages and gain some inspiration from those too. Computer wanting to have a freeze for a moment. Bear with me. There we are. So we mentioned rewards as well. And Lucy hit the nail on the head with rewards, really. One thing that's really important is thinking about rewards that would resonate with those that are already engaged with what you're doing. So that might be, as Lucy mentioned, you know, people who are already within the skate community would potentially know certain brands or certain products that would be that would incentivize their pledging, but then also reaching out to the wider community, so the business community, individuals within your network that might be able to offer something in terms of a reward, and that could be a product or a service. It could be tickets to an event. It could be, we've had all sorts of things. If you look at the slide here, we've got things like an MOT voucher. There will be things that people will be looking to buy regardless, whether it comes through your crowdfunding campaign or on the high street. So that's always a good one. If you can offer a discounted voucher for something, that's great. The idea is to be having these gifted to you, much like the way you would have maybe done a raffle, an in-person raffle. People would go around and speak to the high street businesses and they'd be offered, you know, vouchers and products and experiences and all these wonderful things, and you'd have an in-person raffle. Rather than doing that, you list these items on your campaign page and you attribute a value to those, and somebody pledges that specific amount and claims the reward. So it's brilliant to have a variety of price points available and also a variety of rewards on offer. So think really creatively about your audience and how you can engage with them in the types of rewards that you offer. The other thing that you can do as well is you can have people fundraising on your behalf. So you can ask us at Crowdfunder to switch on a certain functionality on your page, which is the multiplier function. That enables people to set up their own little fundraising pages connected to your main campaign page. So if you have good connections with maybe the local school, the local running club, the local, different community organizations, they may well want to take on a fundraising challenge on your behalf. Or as you can see here, you've got the local primary school have done it on uniform day. There's been a bake sale. All of the money that these pages raise will automatically funnel onto your main campaign page, and so will their supporter numbers. So it can be a really lovely way to reach that first milestone, unlock the Sport England pledge, and then carry on with that lovely collaboration and raising awareness across the community around what you're doing. You will find that you can potentially reach different networks that you might not already have access to by doing something like that. Now, we are here to support you every step of the way. So we've got lots of learning and support available to you. We have webinars such as today's session. We hold regular drop-in sessions. You can come along and talk to a member of Crowdfunder and ask any crowdfunding questions. We have lots of online learning and guides available, as well as our Knowledge Hub, which is stacked full of loads of helpful hints and guides. We've got some great tailored email advice. So once you actually create a free account with us, you'll start receiving emails from Crowdfunder, and they will signpost you to the relevant areas of the site and give you lots of great advice on how to have your successful campaign. We've got a wonderful customer support team as well. They have developed the whole of our help centre. So that is full of all the troubleshooting guides and FAQs. If you can't find your answer there, absolutely contact support. They are the experts behind creating the whole of the help centre in the first place. So no doubt they'll be able to help you. And I've mentioned the live project dashboard. That's where you can apply for match funding through your campaign and also manage every aspect of your ongoing campaign. So that might be extending, as Lucy has. It could be, downloading things like your reports for your supporter reports, or which rewards that you need to deliver on. So all the different ways that you can manage your campaign can be found in your dashboard. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. We did start a little bit later than expected, so we may well run over the 1 o'clock mark by a couple of moments, but I really love to be able to have David and Lucy back on screen to have a bit of a Q&A session and see what questions we've had coming through. So do feel free to pop those questions into the chat box. The Q&A box is being a little bit temperamental, so I can see there are some in there. If you wouldn't mind just popping them into the chat, that's probably going to be a little bit easier to access. David and Lucy, could I ask you to welcome me on screen, please? Hi, David. Thank you. Thank you for sticking around. And also yourself. Thank you so much, Lucy, for joining us as well. We have had a couple of questions about kind of eligibility. And I think the main thing I would recommend, and David, please feel free to jump in here, is that to take a look at that kind of eligibility criteria that we'll be sending through, as opposed to trying to answer specific eligibility questions on the call. What's your take on that one?
Exactly that. If you go on the Sport England website on Movement Fund, there's a whole amount of information that goes through what is eligible, what's not eligible, what we can fund, what we won't fund, and so on. Amazing. And then if you're not sure after that, if you contact our investment advisors on the number on screen there, they'll help you.
Brilliant, thank you. Somebody has asked, Matthew is asking about the recording. Yes, so we will share that with everybody. And of course, feel free to share it with those that are hoping to collaborate with you as well. Off the back of that, we are always available for kind of questions as well from the crowdfunder side. So I'll share a link to booking onto any of the drop-ins. So we do run regular free to access kind of Zoom call virtual drop-ins. It's a really nice way to just have any further questions answered and to kind of speak to and meet with other project owners as well, and hear their questions. It might be things that you've not thought of. So that's always quite a nice peer-to-peer support thing to get involved in. Another question from Matthew. This is a great one. Can you edit the crowdfunding page once it has been set up? In essence, yes. There are certain things you can't edit. Primarily your target, that is kind of set in stone unless there is a very valid reason for crowdfunder to change it on your behalf. In terms of the rest of the page, absolutely. And we encourage you to do so in so much of the sense that you can add rewards at any point throughout your campaign. So if you've got more rewards that you would like to add on at certain points, that can be a really great way to boost engagement. There might have been something really exciting happening with the development of the project, and you could actually add that in to the campaign page itself. And one thing that's really key, and actually, Lucy, I'll hand over to you on this one, is making sure that you're posting project updates, which isn't so much an edit as such to the main page, but it's a way to keep communication with your supporters. There's actually an update tab that you can post lots of brilliant, well, updates into. Lucy, you did well with that. How did you find they landed? What type of things were you putting in as updates?
Yeah, I think we did a few. When we had big grants given, so we had some grants that weren't actually going into the crowdfunder, just to kind of let everyone know. When we had events, just to give them the heads up. So just kind of exciting things to keep up momentum and communicate with everyone. And it did work well. I think we had some people that had given to the crowdfunder and then gave again. We noticed when we did another update, we'd received more donations. So yeah, really good for keeping momentum.
Amazing. One thing I should add to that actually as well, which I think sometimes people don't really think about, whereas with that update function, it means that you've always got access to your page. So even after it's closed and it's no longer kind of an active campaign that you're promoting, it's a great thing to still go and post an update. So maybe, Lucy, when the park actually starts the build, that would be a lovely time to kind of post an update, or cutting the ribbon, maybe like the opening event, get some pictures and pop those in there. And that will let those supporters know that have obviously been part of this journey with you, that it's actually come to fruition, which is really exciting. And it can also be really useful for any future grant applications and those types of things. You can kind of say, look, this is what we did. This is the whole journey of start to finish, the raising the money, what it kind of came to. And this is all of the support that we had throughout that whole experience. And that can be really useful. And if you then go on to crowdfund again, you can post an update to your previous supporters and say, look, this is what we're doing. We're going again. Come over to this page and support us. So it can be really useful. Definitely engage with that. Okay, in terms of, oh, sorry, I just skipped ahead a little bit there. In terms of the promotion then, Lucy, we had a question coming through about social media. So as the Friends group, was that something that's been around for a while, or did you set this up because of the project? And how did you go about kind of building a bit of a social media following, or was that difficult, easy?
So we set up an Instagram that the kids were in charge of, and I think they've probably only posted a few times. We also set up a Facebook page, which I'm a little bit of a control freak, so that worked really well, that I could have access to that, and also one of the skaters as well to do links. But but we started that at the beginning of the crowdfunders. We had to kind of build up with our following, but I have obviously got access to the parish council pages, and we'd kind of share things, but it will be great for, like you say, the ongoing project as it's built, to have that contact through social media and through the crowdfunder as well.
Definitely. And I think, I mean, what a lovely thing to kind of build upon now. Such an exciting message as well for that kickoff with all of the social media. It's brilliant. And in terms of that communication, David, from your side of things, we talked about the application process and kind of contacting Sport England with any questions. What's your take on maybe feeding back to those projects to do with their crowdfunding campaign page as well? I mean, we offer some advice as well when they're starting up and they're putting things together, and we've got some tailored advice for them. You guys at Sport England are absolutely becoming crowdfunding experts at the moment, and my take on it is that you will be imparting your knowledge as well, so there may be things that you could feed back on in terms of not only the application but maybe their campaign pages. Would that be right?
Yes, I before I answer that, I'm going to just refer back to something I've put in the chat, if that's okay. So I have just put a link in there a few moments ago to our funding guidance on the Sport England website, and that gives a good overview of what we are looking for, what we will fund, what we won't fund, the types of organisations that we will fund, won't fund, and so on. And I would say, if I can take the question a slightly different direction and say, my top tip for everybody is just be really clear on what your project is when you come to the movement fund. Be really clear on what your project is, be really clear on what you are asking for and what the outcome will be of your project and the fund. And if you are coming to us for a small scale project, it's a delivery project, that's absolutely fine. Just be really clear on what that is. Be really clear on what you think the outcomes will be from the fund, from your request. If you're coming to us a little bit like what Lucy did, and it's more of a larger scale capital project, and it's quite a big budget, again, absolutely fine. But just be really clear what it is that you are doing, what your project is, and how the budget breakdown works. And then subsequently what the ask is from ourselves. And if you have a campaign, we do completely acknowledge that your campaign may have, as was alluded to earlier, a wish list of other things that we won't fund. Well, that's fine, because we will fund an element of it that is eligible through the movement fund. So just be really clear in your minds how that connects into us. And my apologies, because I kind of took that question into a different direction, but I thought that might be useful to feedback.
No, definitely. That's absolutely fine. And I think is that feedback is really important. That just, I guess my point was making people aware on the call that it's not just a case of sending off an application and that's it. It's gone into the ether, and you know it's going to be an email coming through with not much information. Sport England are incredibly engaged with this process, and ourselves at Crowdfunder are as well. So as long as you are providing as much information as you can, as David just mentioned, you may well receive an email from either side saying, please can we have some more information, or here's some hints on how you can kind of elevate what you've been doing campaign page wise. But you're not on your own, I guess, is what I'm trying to get the message across, that there's teams of people that can get the relevant information from you.
Sorry, just to jump in, and on the journey, if because we have do acknowledge there's been quite a lot of information today, but just to reiterate the point of the two ways of applying to the movement fund. If you do apply through Crowdfunder and you've got your campaign up and running, or it's in draft, which is great, we will look at your application that you fill out on the Crowdfunder site, and obviously your campaign, and that gives us more information to go on. And if we feel that we need more clarity from that, we will, we being Sport England, will contact you directly and ask for that clarity and that information. It doesn't matter which one you go through. It doesn't, and it also doesn't matter if your campaign is in draft or if it's in live, or if you've not even thought about it. It's absolutely fine. We'll support you wherever you are on that journey. But just to stress the point, if you have applied through the crowdfunder site, and we take a look at it. We review it. We review the crowdfunding applications once or twice a week. If we feel that there's more information needed, we will reach out to you and ask for that to help in support of your application.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. We've just got one final question and then we'll wrap up for the day because we have gone a little bit over. Question from Matthew. Can the initial supporters, so I guess that's that initial milestone that I mentioned, so the required supporter numbers, can that be met for the match funding threshold by businesses? Yes. Essentially, if they are donating to your campaign as an individual, so it's coming through as a transaction, as a donation in that way, then yes. If it's a large donation, it might well need to be kind of approved in for want of a better word, from Sport England. What's your take on kind of larger donations coming in from the business network, being able to kind of release that pledge from Sport England? David, is there any restrictions on that necessarily?
Not really, no restrictions on that. I think I go back to what I said previously. I think the key for us is that you're really clear on what your project is and what it is that you are asking for from Sport England with regards to the movement fund element. If you've got larger donations in place, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. The key thing for us is the project that you are looking to activate.
Brilliant, thank you. And I think from a crowdfunding standpoint, again, absolutely fine. That's wonderful and to be celebrated. However, I would still encourage you to be going out there and bringing in larger amounts of maybe smaller donations from the wider community as well, because that evidences, you know, the importance of going out and speaking to your community and bringing them on board. So you've got that collaborative approach as well. And that can be evidenced in those supporter numbers and the required supporter numbers that are a kind of a part of that Sport England Movement Fund pledge requirement too. I hope that clarifies that for you, Matthew. Okay, thank you so much to Lucy and to David for joining me today. There's been some really brilliant inspirational content from Lucy there, some great things about the fund as well. We will make sure that we get you all of the relevant links and resources that you need to look into this even further, and any questions that you have, do feel free to contact Sport England directly. Alternatively, you can book onto one of our drop-in sessions if it's a crowdfunder related question. Before you do leave us today, I would love to just share a final poll with you. Let us know how we're doing. It's been we had a bit of a rough start this morning, but that's fine. Let us
While we're
know.
doing that, can I come back in? Sorry to
Yeah,
very
go for
rudely
it.
interject. Sorry, because it's a good question, Desmond. My first initial response would be, please, in that instance, yeah, it's fine. What you're talking about is absolutely fine. I would encourage you to contact Sport England help desk, and they'll be able to talk that broadly through with you. I guess one very specific bit of advice I would give is multi-year projects are fine-ish. If it's a larger capital project, I would suggest to you that you need to think about the phases of that project. And very specifically, we won't fund longer than 12 months, but that's not to say that your project can't be longer than 12 months if it's a big build. But we would ask you to split down the phases and think about what element of it is that you are wanting us to fund. I hope that helps. But our investment advisors will be very, very helpful with that. And I just thought it might be helpful for me to jump in on that because it's a good question.
No, of course, that's brilliant. Thank you. Okay, next steps then for everybody on the call. Take a look at the extra funding available, specifically the Movement Fund, see if that might be a good fit for you, and then which route to take for application, depending on where you are with your kind of project or your campaign idea at the moment. We've got a brilliant Learn platform that I will share with you. If you are going into that crowdfunding route, then it will walk you through how to do that successfully and explore other projects. So I'll share Lucy's project with you, but take a look at the crowdfunding platform as a whole and see what projects resonate with you. That's a really good place to start to get some inspiration. If there's any questions that we haven't been able to cover off today, we'll make sure that we reply to you separately and answer those. And of course, you can contact us at a later date as well, and also Sport England. So thank you so much, David and Lucy, for joining me today. Good luck, everybody on the call with your crowdfunding journeys, your movement fund journeys, and we look forward to seeing you all raise the money that you need to get your projects off the ground. Thank you very much.